Hello. 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 I hope I'm audible. So, if someone has joined in the chat, can you please confirm once? Is everything clear? The audio and the video? And I will start in 1 or 2 minutes. Just quick check. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So today we'll discuss on the topic of competitive programming for beginners. It's kind of a you can say as a roadmap or a beginner's guide for competitive programming, and also I will try to give you insights for those of you who doesn't know the topic very well, or maybe are confused about whether to start or not, or whether this will help you in clearing interviews, or like why there is so much craze about competitive programming everywhere, because everyone talks about it, right? So yeah, so let's start with this. And as a basic introduction about myself, this is Jaydeep. I am currently working as a software engineer at Swiggy, and I have been previously working as a software engineer at Amazon. I have also been to ACMI CPC regionals twice. So like I've been into competitive programming for quite some time now, let's say for a few years, around 4 to 5 years. So yeah, I've seen this very closely, and probably I can answer a few questions of yours. So we will have a Q&A session at the end, and in the beginning I will cover a few topics. So these topics will help you give some insights, maybe some kind of deep dive into what is this all about. So moving on. Yeah, so the first thing is, what is competitive programming? So like what the thing that comes to our mind is like, what is this all about? So it is basically a programming sports. So what do you mean by programming sport? A programming sport means like there will be some kind of competition where you have to code. So there will be like multiple people trying to code the same thing in a contest, and then you have to win it. How do you win it? You have to win it by competing among them, and then you have to write the code very fast. Maybe that is one criteria. The other criteria can be you have to code it uh, clearly, accurately. Let's say so. Speed and accuracy are the two factors. So what is competitive programming? In short, it is a programming sport in which you will be given some questions or some problems for which you have to write a code solution, or you have to write a code which will execute and then will give the correct answer for a given set of test cases. Okay, and it is also kind of algorithmic problem solving. So what is meant by algorithmic problem solving? The problems will involve some kind of algorithms, and those algorithms you have to code it up. So these algorithms will help you to get to the solution, to reach the solution maybe. Okay, so this is like what is all about competitive programming. This is about competitive programming. This is a brief introduction to competitive programming, like what it is, to give an overview for someone who doesn't know what is CP. So CP is all about this. So I will be using the short form CP, probably that will be helpful for you, or maybe it is a shorter form of competitive programming. Moving on. Why CP? So why do we do this? The thing is that this takes a lot of your time, because you can't do it very fast. Like you can let's say solve all your questions or assignments or everything that you need very fast maybe, or some people also solve semester problems kind of real fast. But then semester problems, I mean that the preparation for semester you start very late and then you solve it. You prepare the syllabus and then you give the exam and get a 9 pointer or a very good pointer in college by putting less effort maybe, or some kind of let's say some effort in which that can be done in very less amount of time. But then CP requires some solid effort. So by solid effort I mean that this will like you need to keep on doing this to improve. So why CP? Some basic advantages that I can think of are it improves the thinking ability basically, so you can think faster, and then it improves the problem solving skills, and also it strengthens your fundamentals. So improving the thinking ability means you can think better than others. Yes, you can. In what sense? In logical reasoning that you can do in solving mathematical problems, and also in solving algorithmic problems. So that is kind of a good part of doing CP. Someone who does CP, you will see that they are very good problem solvers by default. After doing CP you gain this skill, and this skill can be applied everywhere in all phases. So this will also help you in your studies, in competing in different competitions. So this is why you can do competitive programming. There are also many other perks of it, that you can clear any interview in any product based company very easily if you are good at CP. So this is kind of the benefit that you get out of CP. But then the cost that it takes is a lot of time. If you are not solving it honestly, then there is no point in doing it. You don't do it just for your ratings. That's kind of useless, because if you are doing it for improving your ratings in websites, then it's of no use, because ultimately you are not being good at it. So these are the few perks of competitive programming. Probably there are many more. In terms like it helps you grow, and it also helps to grow your thinking abilities, which is very important. Like you can understand that you can think faster than others. That is a very good feel in itself, if that is what you consider as one of the perks. So yeah, this is why you can do CP. Probably the thing that attracts everyone is, I think, uh, maybe cracking interviews at any product based company. Let's say nowadays the craze for FANG is quite high. So FANG means Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. And you can also add Microsoft. So these are the few companies uh, which everyone in all colleges or universities of India who are computer science engineers targets. So if you are targeting one of these companies, because these are the top notch companies in the entire world, so being good at CP helps you in cracking this. But then this is not a must. You can also, there are other ways to get at it, like crack those. But then yeah, CP is kind of helpful. Okay, so how to start? So if someone is a complete newbie, or someone is starting, or someone is also doing it, like anyone, they what they do is basically they are coding these problems in the websites, online websites like CodeShare, CodeForces, HackerEarth, HackerRank, Spoj, and there are many others. Like there is also one called Timus Online Judge, and like UVA is another website. But then these are not much required. So the your all the doubts will be solved mostly by CodeForces or CodeShift. I think CodeForces is one of the best, and then Topcoder is also there. So I have not written it, but yeah, that is also kind of good. So where to start? It's like these are the websites where you can start, or where you will like keep on doing like competitive programming. So what is basically the let's say the lifetime of competitive programming, or what is the scope of competitive programming? It is basically coding up solutions and then submitting it on an online judge. So that online judge have test cases for given problem, and then the test cases runs for your solution code, and your solution code has to pass all the tests and provide the desired output, and then your code is accepted finally. So that is the process. It's very simple, it's very small, and kind of you can understand that you can start from any of these websites if you are a newbie, or if you are already doing it, then you must be knowing like the names of all of them, or maybe some of them at least. So yeah, so these are the things for starting, and then you keep doing it. Resources. So the thing that I want to talk about in resources is, like, there are so many resources nowadays, like it is overflowing. So the problem is that in overflowing resources is you don't have so much time to uh, to just see all of them, like to uh, check all of them. That is not possible, because there are so many YouTube videos nowadays, and some of them are very good as well. But then the thing is that, again, you have time constraint. You just can't go on and check everything on YouTube or whatever is available on the internet. There is kind of overloading of resources, and one of the best resources is CP algorithms. So this is the most standard website for referring. Most people, like many people I see, they don't refer to this, but then CP algorithms is one of the best websites for referring to any quality algorithm, or any like standard algorithm that you want to refer. I think these many people miss out. But then CP algorithms, if you ask any good coder, they will always answer CP algorithm as one of the most trusted websites for like referring to any of the algorithms in which you are stuck, or any of the things that you want to implement. At first you go on and check on the CP algorithms. If it is available, you check the theory. So every algorithm must have some theory, and then after that theory is covered, then you see the implementation, or then you code it up. So everything is available on CP algorithms. You can see it, you can check it out, and then probably you will like it. And then the most common resources that students refer are Geeks for Geeks, LeetCode, InterviewBit. These are the few things I think the students like the most. The Geeks for Geeks to be like on the top. So like Geeks for Geeks is very good. All of them are very good. LeetCode is also quite good. InterviewBit is also very good, and Stack Overflow is your all-time problem solver in any of the questions that you face get stuck. The thing is that we don't use LeetCode Discuss, CodeChef Discuss, and Codeforces blogs a lot. But the thing is that these are also quite helpful, because LeetCode Discuss, if you observe closely, then LeetCode Discuss is one of the sites in which where you will find a lot of people posting their interview experiences, and also nice problems they have faced, or maybe some standard problems or some difficult problems for which there are multiple answers that can be like multiple answers may I mean like there can be multiple solutions and multiple implementations to a given algorithm. So one algorithm can be implemented in, let's say, many ways. Then all of them are, some of them or some nice ones among them are available on LeetCode Discuss or among or in the Codeforces blogs, which generally people don't follow. They go for mostly Geeks for Geeks. This is quite popular, and rest are also very popular. But then if you are planning to go for competitive programming and not like some kind of interview preparation or something like that, then I think CP Algorithms is the best. So you should refer it, like it's quite recommended. And then Geeks for Geeks is always there for your satisfaction maybe. And LeetCode InterviewBit are always there, and some other resources. I mean, there are also video resources, so you can follow maybe some YouTube channels. I won't recommend any like particular channel here because everyone might like a different channel, but there are multiple YouTube channels as well, and there are also many red coders who are solving problems online. So by red coder I mean that Codeforces have rating, and those ratings like red is on the top of them. So again, red means like you are a grandmaster in competitive programming. It's like chess has grandmaster, which means that they are the top chess players in the world. Like similarly, competitive programming CP also has grandmasters. So in Codeforces you find grandmasters. So those grandmasters are the best coders maybe in the world, like they are undoubtedly. And then there are division among grandmasters, like there are grandmasters, there are international grandmasters, and then after that there are legendary grandmasters. So like those people also make videos on YouTube. Like there are people like Tourist, if you know. Tourist is Kennedy Korotkovich. He is the best, like one of the best, you can say he is almost the best competitive programmer in the world. Like he has also a channel, so you can watch that, and he does live streaming for solving contests on Codeforces. So you can watch his channel, maybe you can get insights like how those people solve, how other red coders solve problems. Like these days many red coders are coming on YouTube and they solve problems online, and so that like that gets, like you get some help from it, or someone who doesn't have much knowledge, or like don't like there are many doubts, so those people can find help there. And those channels are very recommended because they are the masters, like they are the grand masters of competitive programming. So whatever they are saying are coming on the base of a lot of knowledge. So this knowledge will help you in improving in and also like solve you will get to know how to solve different types of problems from the problems they are solving. Okay, so yeah, these are good resources. CP Algorithms is one of the best. If you are a reader, maybe someone likes to watch videos more, someone likes to read more. So if you want to read, and then these static resources like websites in which you can read, there are blogs like this. So these websites are recommended. If you are someone who likes watching videos, video explanations to problems, then I think like the ones I said, the red coders channels for the red coders are very good for you. And there are also others for like which you can go for. Okay, and yeah, so these are mostly about the resources. Moving on, how to consistently improve. Okay, so the best way to improve and one of the most recommended ways is upsolving. So what do I mean by upsolving? Upsolving basically means to solve the question that has come in the contest which you tried and then you weren't able to solve during the contest time. Okay, so let's say there are 5 problems in the contest that have come, A, B, C, D, E, with increasing order of difficulty. So A is the easiest and E is the hardest. Okay, and so what do you mean by upsolving here? Let's say you have solved A and B in the contest and you want to solve more, but then C you are stuck. So during the contest time, let's say 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever be the hours, you have tried solving C, D, and then you weren't able to do that in the contest time, and the contest is over. Contest is over. You have solved the 2 questions, and then the other questions were not solved. Okay, so what you do is generally people leave and move on to the next contest or go on and read something else. But then the actual way to improve and the most recommended way to improve is by upsolving. So what do you do in upsolving is you solve problem C after contest is over. So it is like some kind of +1 upsolving. +1 means you solve the next problem up till which you could solve. Let's say you have solved till B, then you solve one more problem. Okay, so this is next problem you are upsolving. So that is one level upsolving, and if you want to solve more of harder difficulty, this will take more time. So if you want to solve D also, so 2 problems, then where you are stuck, 2 problems next you are solving. For every contest you do this. Okay, so this will improve you faster, but then again this will take up more of your time, and this is also beneficial. Like difficult things take time. This is not difficult, but then you have to keep on doing it for every contest. So yeah, managing time sometimes becomes difficult, or maybe you are not able to solve that fast, or you are not able to understand editorials for higher difficulty problems. That can happen. So yeah, +2 level difficulty upsolving might take some time, or may not be possible always. So yeah, but at least one problem you have to upsolve always. So if you are not doing this consistently, like repeatedly for all the contests that you are participating, then it's not like it's useless, because you are solving all the problems that you are able to solve. So then you are not learning anything new. So the point is that you were able to solve those problems from before only. So what did you learn? Like what new thing did you learn? The new thing that you will learn is by upsolving the problem in which you got stuck. Why did you get stuck in a problem? So there can be multiple reasons for getting stuck in a problem. One reason can be you are not able to come up with the logic. This is the first step where you get stuck. Other reason can be you are coming up with a logic, but then that logic is not well enough to pass in the given time. So time constraint, that means some kind of implementation problem. The solution that you are implementing is slow, so you need to you need to find some fast implementation for the same problem. Now you have come up with the logic, but then your implementation is not fast enough, it's pretty slow. So again you are stuck. So there can be likewise multiple reasons for getting stuck in a problem. Or let's say you have come up with the best implementation, but then you are stuck in some kind of debugging process, like it's not giving answers for all the test cases. Then again you have to put some time there, and in this way the contest time gets over, and then you are left with the problem unsolved. Then you have to solve it before moving on to the next contest, because then if you are solving the problem, only then you get something out of it. Okay, so how to consistently improve? Next thing is learn new topics. Learn new topics is you have to keep on learning new topics after every contest, maybe, or after every week. These new topics will help you to gain more knowledge, and then you can apply that knowledge probably in some other contest. So like you can find new topics on CP algorithms, or you can also find new topics while watching some videos of good coders. They will keep on explaining topics in every videos. Let's say you pick up some topic and then you understand it, you put some effort in implementation, you write some basic implementation of it. Let's say if you are picking up DFS, depth first search, for a tree, you just read what is DFS, what is the algorithm for DFS, how to implement DFS, what are the different kind of implementation of DFS, like what is the time complexity for each of those implementations, what is the space complexity for each of those implementations. These are the various factors that you consider while learning a new topic. And if this is the time complexity for a particular implementation X, and there is some other time complexity, then what are the advantages and disadvantages among those two implementation, which one is easier to implement, which one is easier to remember. These are the factors that you consider. So in this way you learn new topics, and then you just keep on learning new topics, and then at some point of time, all the basic topics at least will be comfortable to you. And once you're comfortable with the basics, you can move on to the next level. And you have to participate in contests regularly. So regularly doesn't mean daily. Regularly means periodically. Let's say you are participating in contests every week, or bi-weekly. So bi-weekly, like once in every 2 weeks. Or you can also participate faster, like if you want to increase the frequency of participation, you can also participate after every 2 or 3 days. Codeforces again has contests after every few days. I see that like it's very regular. So if you are able to cope up, like if you are able to match that speed, then it's well enough, like it's very good. And by matching that speed, it also means that you can't forget like upsolving is the most important point. So there's no point in participating in 100 contests and not upsolving anything. Whatever contests you participate, the point is that you are upsolving it after the contest is over. So this is very important for improving, else like it's very difficult. It's very difficult to improve, because you see that contests after contests are passing, and then you are not improving. So this is one thing you should keep in mind. Yeah, so define your success metric. So what is a success metric? Success metric is a progress metric. Like in competitive programming in CP, you don't have a report card like the one you get from your college, right? After every semester you get one, you get a CGPA or some other GPA factors, from where you can understand, okay, I got this marks in last semester, this semester I got this marks, then how much I have improved among different semesters. So here you have to define your success metric, because in everything that you want to excel, you have to define a success metric, which will tell you that like how much have you improved from the previous time. Let's say you have taken part in a previous contest, and now you're taking part in another contest, and you have to compare like how much I have improved. So if you're not defining a scale, then if you're not quantifying your success, then it's very difficult. It's very difficult to to improve, because without seeing the difference, without quantifying the success, then you can't like improve actually. So how to define success metric? You have to try to solve one more problem than what you solved in the last contest. This is a very easy way to define a success metric. So if you are let's say if you solve 2 problems in the last contest which contained 5 problems, and then in this contest if you are solving 3 problems, given that both the contests are of similar type, you just can't solve 2 problems in Codeforces some contest, and then you are going and solving 3 problems in CodeChef or in some other website where all the 3 problems are very easy. Not like that. The thing is that if you are solving Codeforces regular rounds, if you are participating in that, you are solving 2 problems in one round. Next round for Codeforces, if you have to solve 3 or more than 2, any number. So this will tell you that okay, I am at least consistent in what I am achieving, or at least I am improving. Anything, either of them. I am not deteriorating than what I was before. Next thing is that you have to compare the time required to solve the problems. So you have to reduce the time required to solve the problems. The time required to solve problems is depends on the difficulty level of the problem. Let's say if you are taking 10 minutes in solving the easiest problem, probably you have to try in 5 minutes, then 2 minutes, something like that. So this will contain this 5 minutes or whatever your time you are taking. This will contain reading the problem statement, coming up with a logic to solve the problem, and then coming up with the implementation approach, writing the implementation, submitting the problem, and getting it accepted. So this is the entire cycle. So this cycle is the entire time you take to solve a problem, from reading the problem statement to getting it accepted. You can't stop in between. You just can't come up with an implementation, or you just can't write in your copy and think that okay, I've done it. You haven't done it. You have done it only and only when you have got it accepted. There will be a tick mark, or you will see that it's accepted, or some kind of AC you get in CodeChef. So those are the points, like those are the things that verify you that okay, you have got it correct. So this is very important, defining your success metric. Moving on to the next, this is the last slide. Let's just check once. You can, in the meantime, you can put some Q&A questions. Okay, so you can put on your questions. I will take the questions after this slide, because this is the last slide. So you can just put on your questions, like anything you can ask. I will answer them. So is CP must for cracking your dream company? So I think most of you are doing CP to crack your dream company. Like, let's say your dream company is Google or some other company. So CP is not must. Like, this is very simple and clear answer. CP is not must for cracking your dream company. There are too many people who haven't done CP. Literally, they haven't done CP. They don't know. I'm not sure like they know or not, but then yeah, they don't have any exposure to CP, but then they are still in your dream company or their dream company, whatever. Like, I think this dream company thing is quite common for everyone. Let's say everyone in India or everyone in the world, kind of like almost everyone. I should not say everyone. Like some big product based company generally is the dream company for most of the students, or most of the working professionals also, you can say. Okay, so like clearly CP is not must. Like, without CP also you can crack. So how you can crack without CP? Having good understanding of DSA. So what is DSA? It's data structures and algorithms, and the ability to code solutions for, like, the ability to crack the interviews simply. So the ability, how will you crack the interviews? They will ask you questions, you give the correct answer, and you have cracked it. It's simple. The process is simple, but then like, this contains, again, like, it looks simple from very high level, but then if you are going, like, if you are checking the nitty-gritties of it, if you are deep diving into the process, then you will find out the complexities, like the smaller intricate complexities. If you'll find out, like, what happens in an interview. To give a small quick insight, they are asking you a question, and then nowadays due to COVID you are having online interviews, so they will ask you a question, and then they will give you time to come up with the logic. At first you have to understand the problem, then you have to come up with the logic, and then your logic should be fast enough to solve or to crack it. There are also slower or brute force implementations which they are not looking for. It should be optimized, and then optimized meaning should be very fast, with like they are expecting some kind of time and space complexity which it should satisfy. And then if your criteria are matching your time complexities, what they're wanting, and then if their space complexity is according to their need, then you can code the solution. And sometimes nowadays I think they are also asking you to run your code in a compiler and then get it accepted, or maybe they will put some test cases, and then your code should pass those test cases. So this is generally not being done in all the companies, but then yeah, I think this is also like what you can expect. So you should be prepared for both of them. One is like they will give you a Google Doc or some kind of text editor. Text editors are not compilers, so text editors are the places where you write general text. In the same place you have to write a code, but then you don't have to compile. So the advantage when you don't have to compile a code is that your code can have syntax errors and it won't be caught if you are not writing the code in a compiler. But then if you're writing in a compiler, you will be immediately caught. Syntax errors needs to be avoided, which also means that you need to have a strong command over the language. So that means like if you're using C++ or Java, these are the most widely used languages by most of the interview, like most in most companies, and widely used I mean for interviews. And C++ or Java if you're using, then you have to write the exact syntax. You can't write some other syntax, or you can't write a pseudocode, or you can't write some like anything in English. You can't comment it out. You have to write the exact syntax, and then you have to maybe run it. So if you run it, then sometimes you can get infinite loops, and then your code keeps running. Or I think what you can get other than that is maybe some wrong answer, and then you have to bug fix. And bug fixing in an interview is like not a very good thing to crack. Like if you have stuck in a bug in an interview, that is already a red flag. So yeah, definitely you don't want all these things. And then here comes the other thing handy. If they are looking for it, so if they're giving you a text editor, then this thing comes very like handy. These things are avoided. So yeah, you can crack your dream company without CP. Just practice from LeetCode and some other websites. Have a very good command over data structures algorithms, and you can crack any company if you want. I have seen people, like I literally know people who have cracked it for any good company, like many company I know, like in which there are people who have cracked interviews and they are not like competitive programmers like that. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just check if you have questions. Probably I will answer a few of them. Okay, so Tanishk, which language is best for doing CP? So there is nothing like best language, but the ones that are widely used are C++ and Java. Like these two are the most widely used. Some use Python, but then maybe Python some interviewers restrict, so it's safe to use either C++ or Java. And then if you are coding in competitions for competitive programming, then I think C++. Like majority of them uses C++. Like majority of the programmers you will find they are using C++. One thing is that maybe Java the syntax is long. Like they are using some longer syntaxes in Java that you have to write more code for doing the same thing, which can be done writing less amount of code in C++. Like Java the syntaxes are quite long. They have like sometimes you declare objects and class names, variable functions. All those things are required in Java, which is optional in C++. So these syntaxes are quite small, and also for fast input and everything. Java you have to write more code for doing the same thing. So people sometimes avoid that. But then Java has some advantages as well. Like Java is mostly used in the industries. So if you are coding in CP or doing CP in Java, then you have that added advantage of like you're having a clear background about Java. And when you get inside any company, then like that will be helpful to you. I hope this answers your question. So are there any more questions? You can ask in comments. Okay, so I think there are no more questions. Cool. It was a nice session, and yeah, quite enjoyable for me. So yeah, thanks guys for joining. Probably it will be helpful to you, and you can always put in the comments if you have some questions. I'll address them for sure. Yeah, thanks. Bye.